please join us on July 16th at 6:30 on a Facebook Live or Zoom as we actually delve in and do a deep dive on what occurred with specialist Vanessa Gillum and military sexual trauma that have been triggered. We feel at Veterans Council Veteran, we're uniquely positioned to address this on many levels. Everybody in our nonprofit is a veteran and also a mental health provider. So we definitely want to sit and address some of the military sexual survivors who are having triggers after watching Vanessa's life kind of be betrayed to us on media and social media, and unfortunately the tragic murder of her. So we want to address this on three different fronts. In this episode 16, I think we'll do that. So again, on July 16th at 6:30 on Facebook Live and on Zoom. When we go for this particular episode, we want to approach it on three different points of view. We want to do it from the mental health provider. We want to do it from the military sexual trauma survivor and about the command structure. And we're going to do this in several ways. Our panelists for the military veteran mental health providers consist of Dr. Kimberly Kinsler, psychologist and also Army veteran. And ironically, Dr. Kinsler actually was stationed at Fort Hood. And also another one of our panelists for mental health will be Consuela Wiles. Consuela Wiles is an Army veteran, combat veteran, and she's also a licensed professional counselor. On the military sexual trauma survivor side, we're going to have three survivors who have unique perspective in this. We have Damika Jackson, who is an Army veteran, military sexual trauma survivor, and a really big influential and advocate for women veterans in Jacksonville. Along with that, we're going to have Lynn Geyser, who's also Army veteran, military sexual trauma survivor, and also very active in women veteran mental health issues. And finally, we're going to have a special guest for Lakeisha Houston, who's active duty right now and in the Air Force, and she's also a military sexual trauma survivor. So we're going to get their perspective as far as navigating this. And finally, we'll get the command structure. Like I said earlier, I was a prior commander of headquarters company, U.S. Army Garrison 3 Corps at Fort Hood. And I had over 700 soldiers in my command. And I can tell you emphatically, on contrary to what you see out there on social media, most commanders do not value an MVG over the lives and livelihood of their soldiers. That's just not true, and it's bullcrap. In fact, as a commander, it's more than the commander and the officer, but it's also the senior enlisted. So with my command, I had actually 4 first sergeants. I had First Sergeant Felix Alicea, I had First Sergeant Pinckney, I had First Sergeant Valdez, and then First Sergeant Goodman. And we all took that personally in taking care of soldiers. So the fact that the nonsense that we care more about MVGs or a weapon than our soldiers is ridiculous. And I'm definitely against that part. But at the same time, I understand there is actually a challenge when it comes to who has sit there and come forward and say, look, I've been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted. But also part of this podcast, we're going to have another former commander, Jeremy Taylor. Jeremy Taylor was a commander, headquarters company commander, and he's unique because Jeremy was able to actually have a court-martial proceedings for a senior NCO who has been had sexual predator behavior, and Jeremy actually won that court-martial, but it didn't end the way he thought it should have ended. And you'll learn more about that in our podcast when you listen. So this is important. So there are 3 areas we want to cover. We think that with that, we can give a more of a comprehensive bird's eye view, what it really means to deal with sexual assault or harassment in the military and specifically in the Army. And we definitely want to be part of making changes because there's definitely an increase of sexual assault being reported and harassment, and there's some that have not been reported. And these triggers are not just for female women veterans, but also male women, veterans as well. So we want to address this, want to head on. You're going to see a very authentic podcast. We're going to tell you how it is, and we want to try to move forward. So again, tune in to our podcast on July 16th, Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Facebook Live and Zoom. This is Tony Williams from Veterans Council and Veterans, out.